call upon the fourth speaker of the day, Toastmaster Jim. Toastmaster Jim, are you ready? Toastmaster Jim. My grandfather, C.M. Simon. My grandfather, C.M. Simon. Toastmaster Jim. Well, before I begin my speech, I want to ask a quick question. How many of you here know my full name? Raise hand if you do. Well, that is expected. However, how many of you knew that my name was not meant to be Jim Matthew Kane? That's disappointing, guys. Initially, when I was born, my dad wanted to name me as Simon Matthew and not Jim Matthew. However, my grandmother was deeply against it. She wanted that at least her first grandchild would carry a modern name and not an ancient name passed on by generations. It's the great respect that my dad had for my grandfather, for which he wanted to name me after. But honestly, guys, I absolutely have no qualities which make me worthy of his name. My grandfather was a harbor of hearts. Any person in the locality or among his friends would face any kind of problem, he would be the first person to come and solve it. I still recall that when I used to go home during vacations, he used to have a queue of people waiting to listen to the solution to their personal queries or the professional advices that he gave. While we are all watching Shin-chan and Doraemon and enjoying life, he was busy studying complex architectural designs. I used to always wonder why he ever did this, because he never took anything in return. And whenever I asked him this question, he would always state the same answer. I have made enough while working in the PWD department. I don't need more. This might sound illogical to you at that time, but later on, what I never realized is that these very lines created a profound effect in me. When I was young, I was incredibly rude. I didn't care what is happening in the world. I didn't have respect for no one, and I was impolite all the time. Best of all, kindness wasn't a word in my dictionary at all. I know it's difficult for you guys to imagine me being rude, but still, for the sake of the argument, how many of you think I can be rude? Seriously? Tomorrow onwards, I'm finding new friends. However, my grandfather was on the other end of the spectrum. Any person in the locality or anyone who asked me for money, he would happily give it without ever asking for repayment. And this always infuriated me because we lived in a house built in 1980s which never underwent renovations. And whenever I asked him, he would never have money for it. But for helping people, he would definitely have money. The turning point in this estranged relationship between me and him came when one day, one of the debtors who had come to collect money saw me and said something which I would never forget. Blessed are you, son, to have been born in a house where kindness prevails over money. Blessed are you to be born as the grandson of C.M. Simon. That line greatly shook me. She knew nothing about me, absolutely nothing. But just because I was a grandson of C.M. Simon, she concluded that I was also kind and generous like he was. Whereas in reality, I was the most rude child in Bethany High School. That day, I couldn't sleep. I kept trying again and again and again and again to sleep, but I just could not forget what had just happened. It was as if someone showed a mirror to my face, where I was asked to reflect my values and characteristics. And that was breathtaking because you don't know what to do. It made me realize that I was a complete opposite of my family's legacy and nature. And that day, I took a pledge that I will not be the black sheep of my family, that I will also uphold the legacy of my family by being kind and generous, just like my grandfather was. I never saw that lady ever again in my life, but what I did see was my grandfather's smile. It's a sad thing that I never got to see the smile for a long time. A year later, for completing the loan application of my friend. He had gone to the Dhanlakshmi bank to fill the loan application. And unexpectedly, he collapsed. He was rushed immediately to the hospital. But he passed away a day later, just before my birthday. This was a shock to each one of us because he suffered from no kinds of diseases or any kind of medical conditions. But still, he left all of us, and especially me. Before he could see me as a kind and generous person, he always wanted me to be. Fate is incredibly cruel, but destiny at times is sweet. A week later, his lawyer had come home to explain us about his will, and I was least interested in it. All of us agreed. But one line, just one line, greatly shook my heart. The only watch which I ever bought, which is the Seiko Japan Expedition 030915, should be given to my grandson, Jim Icebreaker. And today, as I stand in front of you, wearing that exact same watch, I hope I've at least tried to live up to his legacy of the kind and generous person he always wanted me to be. Along this journey with him, which was very short in fact, I realized one thing. You can be as cruel as Adolf Hitler or Chairman Mao Zedong or any of the worst dictators. But there will be an instant in your life where you will be asked to reflect your own values, characteristics, the decision that you make after. To be kind or to continue the cruelty which you have decides who you are. It's sad that he's not here to see me today, but still, I'd like to end this speech. It is true that for each one of us, our values are shaped by our parents. But for me, it was shaped by my grandfather, Chervattur Matthew Simon, as you would know, CM7.